Welcome to Sheer Beta, where we show you how to get the most out of your climbing. Today we're going to be reviewing the Wild Country Revo. It's the hottest belay device to come out since the Gree. I did do an unboxing, so if you do want to see how this is packaged and what it looks like, out of the box, go ahead and check that out. First impressions of the Revo are that it's actually really heavy compared to a Gree. It feels significantly heavier. I knew this buying the device, but unfortunately, when I picked it up, it was the first thing I noticed, and it felt very clunky. It is a little bit larger than the Gree. It doesn't look as that much larger, but it does feel that way. I think the weight adds to that sort of feeling of it being larger. So that was one thing that I initially noticed. The next thing that I noticed was that it felt a little complicated. There's the locking switch on both sides of the Revo. There's the latch to open and close the Revo itself. And then there's the wheel in the center where the rope wraps around. So a lot of moving parts. Having used a Gree for a long time now, catching a fall with a Gree, you're always going to have it engage and help stop the rope. That wasn't the case with the Wild Country Revo. It would actually take a bit of extra rope on the brake side of the device in order for it to lock up on its own. So it's really, the mechanism here is really there as a backup. Most of the catches that I've caught on the Revo have been by just holding the brake side of the rope against the teeth of the device, and the device would actually not engage. I thought this was definitely a more interesting user experience, where you're actually a more active belayer, and the Wild Country Revo is really just there should something go wrong. Some of the strengths of the Revo are that it paid out rope very smoothly, so it's great for lead climbing. It also worked very similar again to a tube style device, so there's not a sharp learning curve in terms of how to use the device, and there's not that sensation that you have to accommodate your belay style in order to use this particular device. In terms of catching falls, it felt very smooth. It didn't really feel any different than catching with either a tube style or with a Gree. This also may not be the best belay device if you have a climber that's working a route. You'll have to actively hold a rope most of the time, being that the Revo only engages at certain points on the wheel. This can be problematic because you'll have to just grip the rope for long periods of time, and it might wear you out. A few other flaws are that it's probably not the best device to belay from above for. It can also feel a little jerky when you're lowering a climber. The wheel has a little bit of a asymmetrical design at the center, which can create a little bit of an undulation when you're lowering a climber. It can actually sometimes also lock up when you're taking up slack. This only happened occasionally, but when it did happen, it was a little jarring because it will actually pop up the locking switch on the opposite side of the belay device. It could take a moment to realize this, and your climber could still be on the wall. So if you don't recognize that you have to hit the switch on the opposite side, you could essentially lock up the device on your climber and create a little bit of a situation. Of the handful of flaws that the Revo has, there were two that gave me a little bit of concern. The first is that the Revo requires a bit of rope to be pulled out of the device as the climber's falling before it actually engages. This means that you could potentially have your climber fall an extra bit of distance than you would, say, a Gree. I think it's just the nature of the device, but it does take a little bit of extra rope in order for the assisted braking to kick in. The second is regarding the latch. The latch has actually opened up on me a few times catching falls, and it only opens up the Revo just ever so slightly. The Revo's still held together at the bottom, so there's no safety issue, but it does add extra friction to the system and makes it harder to belay your climber. I would still trust the Revo, but it does make me a little bit concerned about the craftsmanship. My final thoughts on the Revo is that it's a great addition to the assisted locking belay device category. I think it's going to give Grigri a bit of competition in terms of the market. There are a few flaws, of course. Version 2 could maybe solve some of the problems that I mentioned earlier. I think those who are very comfortable with the Grigri may not care for the Revo. There's more versatility there. It's lighter, it's trustworthy, it's proven. So I think those who are already in that category should not get a Revo. But those who are looking for something to add a little bit of safety, who are not fans of the Grigri, should definitely take a look at the Revo. It is definitely going to be limited if you're looking to expand into, trad climbing or multi-pitch. The Revo really isn't suited for that. And then you may have to just get a Grigri or a different belay device anyway. So that's basically it. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next one.